This is episode 114, Why a Moment is Never Good or Bad. Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallon, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just want to drop in and say I appreciate you for being here, and I'm super excited about this new Walk With Me series. These are solo episodes where I take some time in the middle of my morning run through the Santa Monica Mountains to share some inspired ideas and thoughts on my mind and heart. If you want to join me for any of these conversations live, you can catch me many mornings on my Facebook page, facebook.com/BlakeMallon.page. Would love to see you there. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode. Walk with me. So, I have a question for y'all. Have you ever been in the middle of a moment? Some situation, some scenario, some circumstance where like every part of your body just felt, this is bad. This is not good. This is terrible. The sky is falling. I can't believe this happened. What am I gonna do? Who's been there? Who's felt that? Or have you ever been in a moment where you're in the middle, again, of some situation, some scenario, some circumstance where every part of you just felt like this is freaking amazing. This is awesome. This is epic. This is such good news. You felt it in every fiber of your body. Who's been there? I know you have. I bet right now you're probably thinking of the last time you had each of those moments. But what if I said to you, regardless of which one it was, regardless of your feeling in a moment that, man, this is bad, or you're feeling in a moment, man, this is freaking amazing. What if I told you right now that both of those feelings, either of those feelings, was wrong? I know some of you are sitting there thinking, well, Blake, how do you know? You weren't in that situation. You don't even know what I'm thinking. You don't even know what situation I'm talking about right now. And I will agree, all of those are true. But I want to talk about why I think no matter the feeling you have in the moment, good or bad, it's wrong. Before I get into why I say that, what I mean, and a mindset shift that I think is going to help all of us in every situation, this is going to be good. Some of you guys are like, wait, back up, Blake. What the heck were you talking about? How can no matter what I think the moment is, good or bad, terrible or epic, how can you tell me that I'm wrong? You guys, I've come to believe that it's never good to judge the moment in the moment. And stay with me here, I'll explain why. In my experience, and you guys tell me if you've shared the same, that you never know in the moment if that moment is a good thing or a bad thing. And I'll prove it to you by saying this. How many of you have had something in your life that in the moment, you're like, this is freaking amazing. You are celebrating. You feel just completely happy, fulfilled, a rush of pleasure in that moment. You're like, if I asked you to judge it right then and there, you're like, this is the best thing ever. Only to sometime later, you realize that it really wasn't such a great thing. Maybe later you regretted the action. Maybe later you're like, oh, that wasn't meant for me. Who's been there? Who can relate? Who knows what I'm talking about? Or vice versa. How many of you have ever had a situation where in the moment, had you judged it, your initial reaction was, this is not good. Horrible, terrible, bad news. But at some point later, you realize that that moment actually made way for something amazing, for something positive, maybe for something even life-changing. Who's been there? Steve Jobs has some amazing quotes. Obviously a innovator, someone who defines thinking differently. And I'm sure most of you have seen his really famous speech to the graduating class. But he has a line in there, I'll probably mess it up, but I'll get the concept right, where he says, look, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to have some faith, some trust that the dots, i.e. the moments in our life, are going to connect at some point in the future. Check out the view from the top here. Beautiful day, clear skies. I'm going to take a seat, if that's okay with y'all. And I share that quote because I think that harnesses exactly the concept that we're talking about. You see, in a given moment, you just don't know. You just don't know. Because in that moment, it has not had enough time to lead, to create, to manifest what that moment may be for you. And you don't know because you can't. None of us have the ability to connect the dots looking forward. We only have the ability to connect the dots looking backward, which means there has to be enough time, whatever that time means. Could be hours, could be days, could be weeks, could be years, could be decades, depending on that specific moment, before you're at the right vantage point, have the right perspective to then look backwards and understand what each moment meant. And therefore, by judging a moment in the moment as either good or bad, we give it a label in the moment that limits that moment from actually becoming what it's meant to be. In any moment, if you label a moment in that moment as, man, this is the best thing for me, or you label that moment in that moment as, man, this is a terrible thing for me, you instantly put a box around the potential of that moment to become what that moment is meant to be. And you never know in the moment what that moment's for, because the dots only connect in the future, and the amount of time for that moment to mature into what it was meant to is different for every moment, but no moment is instant. So by the very nature, judging a moment in the moment limits our ability to really understand or appreciate what that moment can become. And again, don't take my word for it. This isn't just a theoretical statement. This is something that I've experienced in my life. And I bet you have too. I can think of so many moments that in the moment I got overwhelmed. Like I judged the moment, like consumed by fear, anxiety, stress. Your brain starts to swirl every which way of how the sky is going to fall, how disaster is going to strike, only to find out at some point in the future the dots connected exactly the way they were meant to, in such a beautiful, positive way. I remember the stressful situation, the time graduating high school. Graduating high school is such a stressful time of life, isn't it, for so many people? It was for me. Like all this pressure built up, right, from my family, teachers, society, on what you're supposed to be. Worked so hard in school to get the great GPA, to build the amazing resume, all for what, right? To get into that college. And I remember applying to all these different colleges, but I had this thought in my mind that I had to go to some like Ivy League school to become this amazing, right, professional. And so I took the leap, and I remember I applied to Stanford, right, a prestigious university, went out there with my mom, took a trip at the campus, like this must be what I'm supposed to do. And I remember applying to all of the schools, and I got into every school, right, that I applied to, like acceptance. And then one of the last letters I got back was Stanford. I remember the anxiety opening up that envelope only to read that I didn't get accepted. And I remember judging that moment like, this isn't what was supposed to happen. Like, this is the path I'm supposed to be on. Like, this isn't how the story's supposed to work. And I remember hating all of that. And then selecting my second option and going to college down at UCSD, San Diego. And in hindsight, I'm so appreciative of that moment, allowing me to go to a place that is now and still has been one of my favorite cities in the world, allowing me to create friends and relationships down there that I still have today, right? Allowing me to continue to pursue my love and passion for surfing all through college, which I still am able to do today. I wouldn't have done that up in, Stanford in Northern California. Allowing me to meet some amazing business partners that changed my entire trajectory of my life. Had I been in a different part of the state, of the country, none of that would have happened. The dots didn't make sense to me in the moment. But with enough time and duration looking back, I realized it was exactly what was meant to. That door was meant to shut, to push me into another direction that I was meant to go. I remember 5 years after being involved in a company, my first entrepreneurial venture, that I thought I was going to retire in. I remember that company going out of business. And I remember being in that moment, again, judging the moment, like fear, anxiety, stress. This isn't what was meant to. I worked my butt off. This can't be happening. And I remember all of the different negative thoughts in my mind. Oh man, everybody must have been right. All of the things they said must have been right. All of the haters, all of the naysayers, every single word, right? Becoming a wound inside. And that very scenario nudging me in a direction to start my first company with my partners. And it's amazing looking backwards where you realize that, wow, that moment had to happen in order to shut that door for another one to open. You guys, I can keep going, and these are scenarios. I can go throughout my entire life. Relationships, some of the hardest ones, right? Where you develop relationships with individuals that you think are going to last a lifetime. And then for whatever reason, relationships change, they shift, right? They get to a point where they're barely a relationship at all, or they get to a point where maybe a relationship comes to an abrupt stop and you sit there and it hurts, right? It hurts. But then after enough time, you realize, man, sometimes there's certain relationships you had to let go. There's certain relationships that got you to where you are, but they weren't meant for where you're going. There's certain relationships that served a purpose, taught a lesson, but you're not meant to carry them with you. There's certain relationships you have to let go to create space for new. And it's hard in the moment if you judge the moment, but with enough time and enough duration looking back, you start to realize that, wow, what you thought were some of the most dramatic, right, terrible, horrible moments, had you judged them in the moment, you realize were some of your greatest blessings when you give enough time for the dots to connect in the future. And I know I'm sitting here telling these stories, and I keep telling you stories of my own life over and over and over again, even till the current. Some of the things that you think, if you're in the moment, are just bad news, right? Horrible situations, that you just pause and take a breath and you realize, you know what? We can't judge the moment, because judging the moment removes the potential of that moment. And if your entire life up until this date is full of moments that you were wrong, right, in your judging, well, who's to say the moment you're in right now isn't one of those moments? You just have to give it enough time for that moment to mature. And I know over the last couple years, there's probably been a lot of moments that are easy to judge, but we just don't know what we don't know. And I'll ask all of you guys directly, how many of you, as I'm sharing my moments, you're thinking of moments right now that you labeled as bad in the situation that became some of the best things in your life? And vice versa. Sometimes when we chase the pleasure, right? When we chase the thing for the instant gratification, we give us whatever is going to give us that instant joy. In the moment, we think this feels amazing, right? How many things can we do to give us that instant gratification? But so often, the things that create the instant pleasure, the instant joy, actually can become the worst things for us over time and duration. Constantly giving into an instant pleasure at the detriment or the sacrifice of long-term fulfillment or long-term happiness or long-term growth. You know what I'm talking about. So we have to make a shift, right? And it's a shift in a mindset. And the shift is we have to learn that we can't judge the moment. We have to embrace the moment. That's it, regardless of the moment. We can't judge the moment. It's neither good, neither bad. Don't throw it in a bucket. We have to embrace the moment. And I'm not even going to say that the moment is what it is, because it's not what it is. The moment is what it's going to be. And that's the beautiful thing. The moment is not what it is. The moment is what it's going to be. And you have no idea what that moment is going to mean for you. And you have no idea when that moment is going to mature enough for you to even find out, whether it's hours, days, weeks, years, or decades. Because every moment is the opportunity, with enough time, to become something amazingly positive and beautiful in your life, if we allow it to be. And the first step to allowing it to be is not to judge it in the moment or put a box around it or label it as good or bad to limit what it's meant to be, but just to embrace the moment at this time, knowing that, hey, that's just a dot now on your timeline. And that dot is going to connect in the way that it's meant to at some point in the future. And all we get to do is enjoy the journey of the dots along the way. So my challenge for all of you, right, this week and from this point forward is, hey, stop judging the moment. I don't care what it is. I don't care how bad or how good, how low or how high, right? How much emotion in the moment. Stop judging the moment, because no matter what you're doing, you are wrong, because we have no idea what that moment can become and will become, as long as we don't limit its potential. So just be a collector of dots. Embrace the dots along the way. And smile when the dots start to connect in such a divine and infinite way that you realize, hey, you know what? We really don't have a whole lot of control over this, but we get to enjoy the ride. And that's what this thing called life is really about. So here's to collecting some amazing dots this week, this year, and watching the dots of the past start to unfold and start to connect. Because that's what's happening. You can feel it. How many of you guys have some amazing dots of the past connecting in amazing ways, like right here and right now? Like, it's happening. You can see it. You can feel it. And I know dots are going to be connecting for you in the weeks and months, right, to come. I know dots are going to be connecting for you this year. And I know a lot more dots are going to be created to continue to connect, right, as we move forward. And in the meantime, here's to not judging, but embracing the moments, being a collector of dots, and watching this year, 2022, unfold the way that it's meant to for you. Till the next time we walk together, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and have some amazing moments, regardless of how they feel in the now. Take care, everybody.
Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. Simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. So if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com, or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you. I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallon and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you, and I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.